Little People, Big World star Amy Roloff. And Chris Murick's officially divorced. And finally Chris Murick arrest. I will explain everything. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We're talking about Amy Roloff and Chris Murray, their whirlwind romance, the cracks that turned into chasms, the finality of their divorce just weeks ago, and the bombshell that dropped like a sledgehammer, Chris Murick's arrest. We've spent months piecing this together, talking to sources close to both parties, reviewing court documents you haven't seen, and uncovering the painful truth behind the Instagram smiles. This is exclusive. Rewind to 2017. Amy Roloff was navigating life as a newly single woman after decades of marriage and the intense public scrutiny of her divorce from Matt. Enter Chris Murick, not a reality star, not a little person, but a seemingly grounded, successful real estate broker from Washington State. Introduced through mutual friends, Chris represented stability normally and a chance for Amy to step out of the Roloff farm shadow. Fans adore him. He was the charming, supportive partner Amy deserved. He embraced her family, appeared comfortable on the fringes of the LPB, heavy cameras, and radiated genuine affection. Their engagement in 2019 felt like a collective sigh of relief. Amy had found her happy ending. It looked perfect. The waterfront wedding in August 2021 was a televised event. Pure romance. Chris vowed to be Amy's rock. Amy beamed, declaring this chapter meant to be. But behind the curated Instagram posts and the TLC edits, whispers began. Sources tell us the transition from dating bliss to married life, especially under the LPBW microscope, wasn't smooth. Chris Murick was a private man, thrust into a very public life. Sources close to the couple reveal Chris grew increasingly uncomfortable with the constant filming demands of LPV, the pressure cooker of reality TV, where every disagreement is potential footage, started taking its toll. Chris loved Amy, no doubt, but he hated the circus. He hated feeling like his life wasn't his own. He built a successful career quietly, and suddenly he was Amy Roloff's husband. It chafed. He started pulling back from filming whenever he could, which frustrated the producers. And honestly, sometimes Amy. Then came the property disputes. Amy's primary residence was her Portland condo. Chris maintained his home in Washington. While presented as practical, insiders say this physical separation became symbolic. Amy was deeply rooted in Oregon with her family, grandkids, and the Roloff farm's business legacy. Chris's life and business ties were north. Compromise became conflict. The "where do we live" argument was constant. Amy wasn't leaving Oregon. Chris wasn't keen on fully relocating. They tried splitting time, but it felt fractured. Amy wanted a true partner sharing her daily life in Portland, especially as she focused on her memoir and new ventures. Chris seemed detached from that world. Signs were subtle but visible if you looked. Chris' appearances on Amy's social media dwindled. Joint public outings became rarer. Amy's posts shifted focus heavily to her kids, grandkids, work, and solo adventures. The narrative of the perfect couple was fraying. The official announcement came in May 2023, a stark formal statement confirming Amy and Chris had separated. Months prior, fans were stunned. The news was delivered via Amy's website, devoid of the warmth that characterized their early relationship. It spoke of a difficult decision and a request for privacy. Our sources confirmed the separation happened in late 2022 following a particularly tense holiday season filled with arguments about future plans and Chris's growing resentment towards the public aspect of their lives. The split, while amicable on the surface for the public, was reportedly deeply painful. For Amy, Amy was heartbroken. She truly believed this was her forever. She felt blindsided by how quickly things deteriorated after the wedding. There was a lot of crying, a lot of questioning. She put on a brave face, publicly but privately. It was devastating. Chris seemed resolved, maybe even relieved in a way to step back from the spotlight. The divorce proceedings filed in Oregon were kept remarkably private. No messy public battles over assets splashed across TMZ. Both parties, our legal sources confirm, utilized experienced lawyers and aimed for a swift, uncontested dissolution. Amy kept her Portland condo and her business interests. Chris retained his Washington properties and assets. The clean split suggested a desire from both sides to move on quickly and quietly. The final decree was signed in late June 2024, a quiet legal end to a very public marriage. Many fans hoped Amy would bounce back quickly. She focused on family, her boutique, and promoting her book. Chris vanished from the public eye almost entirely. It seemed like the sad, quiet conclusion to their story, but the real shockwave was just about to hit. Then, on the morning of July 15, 2024, the quiet shattered. News broke via law enforcement sources and later confirmed by official records. Christopher Merrick had been arrested in Clark County, Washington in the early hours of July 14th. The charges: not a traffic violation, not a minor dispute, assault, domestic violence, malicious mischief. The words are chilling. According to the heavily redacted police report obtained by our team, deputies responded to a 911 call placed just after 1:30 a.m. from a residence identified as Chris Morrick's primary home. The caller, described as a female acquaintance visiting Murick, reported a physical altercation. The preliminary report indicates an argument escalated severely. The victim alleged Murick became physically aggressive, shoving her and causing her to fall against furniture, resulting in minor bruising. He then reportedly began destroying property inside the home, throwing objects, damaging furniture. The victim was visibly shaken but declined immediate medical transport. Murick was described as highly intoxicated and belligerent at the scene. Deputies arrived to find the victim distressed and the residence in disarray. Murick was reportedly uncooperative initially but was taken into custody without further incident. He was booked into the Clark County jail, processed, and that monk shot the haunted eyes. The dishment was taken. He was released later that day on bail, pending his first court appearance. Let's be unequivocally clear, these are allegations. Chris Murray is entitled to due process and the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. However, the nature of the charges, particularly the domestic violence component, is profoundly serious and deeply disturbing. This wasn't a bar fight. This allegedly happened in his home involving someone he knew. The impact was immediate and explosive. Fans flooded social media with shock, anger, and overwhelming support for Amy. The hashtag #StandWith trended. Speculation ran rampant. Did Amy know a darker side? Was she lucky to be out? How was she coping? Amy Roloff has maintained a stony silence. No public statements, no subtle Instagram quotes. Her representatives declined all comment. This silence speaks volumes. Sources very close to Amy tell us she was horrified and deeply shaken by the news. While they had been divorced for weeks, the allegations painted a picture starkly at odds with the man she married. There's reportedly a profound sense of relief that she was no longer in that relationship mixed with residual grief and betrayal. She's devastated for the victim first and foremost. And yes, there's anger. Anger that this happened. Anger at the choices he made, but mostly, there's a deep, deep sadness. Sadness that the man she loved could allegedly do this. It feels like the final ugly demolition of the fairy tale she believed in. She's leaning heavily on her children and her closest friends. Right now, she wants nothing to do with the mess. Chris Murick's world has imploded. His real estate brokerage's website is down. His professional reputation is in tatters. Attempts to reach him or his legal representation have gone unanswered. He faces real legal jeopardy, potential jail time, fines, mandatory counseling, and the permanent stigma of a domestic violence arrest, regardless of the outcome. His first court date looms. The Roloff family has also closed ranks. Matt Roloff offered a tourist no comment when approached. Zach and Tori, Jeremy and Audrey, all silent, focused on supporting their mom. The LPBW production team faces a dilemma: how to address this seismic event in the upcoming season, if at all. Amy's journey moving forward will be central, but the shadow of Murick's arrest is inescapable. Looking back, were there clues? Hindsight is painfully clear. Chris's growing withdrawal from the LPBGU spotlight, interpreted as shyness, could have been deeper discontent. The separate residences, while practical, fostered disconnection, but nothing pointed to this level of alleged volatility. The arrest forces a brutal reevaluation. Was the charming, easygoing Chris Murick a carefully constructed facade? Did the pressures of his new life unleash something darker? Or was this a tragic, alcohol-fueled aberration? The court process may provide answers, but the trust, Amy's trust, the fans' trust, is irrevocably broken. The man presented as Amy's rock stands accused of being something terrifyingly different. This story is a harsh reminder. We never truly know what happens behind closed doors. Reality TV sells narratives, but reality itself is often messier, darker, and more heartbreaking. Amy Roloff's resilience is being tested like never before. Amy Roloff's story with Chris Murick began with the promise of a joyful second chapter. It ends with divorce papers and a mug shot. The contrast is jarring, a brutal illustration of how quickly lives can unravel. While Chris Murick navigates the legal system and the wreckage of his own choices, Amy faces a different path. Healing. Her strength has always been her defining characteristic. Raising 4 children, building a career, navigating a very public divorce, finding love again, and now surviving this profound betrayal and shock. She has her family, her faith, her work, and the unwavering support of millions of fans who see her not just as a reality star, but as a woman of remarkable courage. Amy Roloff deserves peace. She deserves safety. She deserves a love that is genuine, respectful, and safe. What Chris Murick is accused of is the antithesis of that. As this legal case unfolds, we must remember the real victim, the woman allegedly assaulted that night, and respect her privacy and her journey. For Amy, this is about closing a door that turned toxic and focusing on the light ahead. Her children, her beautiful grandchildren, her passions, and her own hard-won independence. This isn't just celebrity news. This is a story about domestic violence, the facades people wear, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. Let Amy's silence speak volumes. Let her strength be an inspiration, and let this be a stark reminder. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-8007 and 999 SAFE 70-233. You are not alone. This has been an in-depth look at a truly heartbreaking situation. More update. Is Amy still in love with her ex Matt? Little People, Big World Season 25 star Amy Roloff had to deal with losing a husband that she really, really loved. Does she still love him? I will explain everything. Little People, Big World. Amy Roloff has been through a lot, including a rocky divorce from husband Matt Roloff. She probably has feelings for her ex-partner even now. Despite Amy's apparent closure with Chris Murray, she still experiences intense emotional distress whenever she is in the company of Matt and Karen Chandler, his fiancée. Following Matt's breakup, did Amy's heart ever get better? She wanted nothing more than to be his wife forever. Even if she is with a new partner now, she cannot shake the ghosts of her former. Perhaps Amy is still hurting and wishes her life had turned out differently. She may even say that Karen destroyed it. Little People, Big World's 25th season star. It is understandable that Amy would feel bitter and envious at times given that her life has not always been smooth sailing, according to the screenplay. Nevertheless, Karen is going through more pain than she needs to because of Matt's engagement after marrying Chris. On August 28, 2021, Amy clearly ought to have moved on from her relationship with Matt. However, she clearly feels awkward when conversing with Karen. The initial suspicion that Matt and Amy's relationship is questionable is certainly weighing heavily on Amy. Amy loved Matt so deeply that she wanted to remain with him indefinitely. She was herself annihilated by Karen. In the debut of Little People Big World Season 25, Zach Roloff dealt with an extremely upsetting and painful health issue. Something more serious was going on with his terrible headache due to the ineffectiveness of the pressure relieving shunt implanted in his skull. He had to undergo surgery. However, the level of drama was significantly higher. Matt and Karen told Amy that they planned to leave Amy whatever share of their property they possessed when they died, while Amy was still processing the news of his choice to ask Karen to be his wife. In all seriousness, when Amy finally responded, "Okay, let us see the ring," it was as if her thoughtful gesture had been designed to soften the blow of the engagement announcement. It was a tragedy. It was clear that she was attempting to hide her feelings of worry and sadness at Matt and Karen's engagement. According to her, she always makes an effort to be friendly to Karen. It must be quite difficult for her, because she must be feeling deceived by Karen. Working at Roloff Farms, Karen began dating Matt. Upon seeing obscene photographs and filthy texts between the two, Amy was reportedly highly outraged. The whole process was disgusting and excruciating. While Matt's love for Karen is evident, the 28-year marriage between Amy and him terminated in 2015. Achievements thus far on her website. She interacts with her followers through blogs, autographed book sales, and more. Listeners to her podcast, Amy Roloff Podcast, can find episodes on her website as well. Prior to his meteoric rise to fame on television, Roloff exhibited an academic bent. She attended and graduated with a business degree from Central Michigan University. She was a former student of Livonia, Michigan's Franklin High School. Her business degree attests to her multitasking prowess and exceptional business acumen. Prior to this, she worked as a motivational speaker and has been an honored guest at several notable events, including the 2010 Lakes Health Conference and the 2019 Dr. James Borland Convocational Series at Adrian College. In addition to owning a nonprofit, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the expansive home. Chris Murray and Amy Roloff have fantastic plans for their retirement. In Tuesday's new episode of Little People, Big World, the TLC stars showed viewers around a massive Oregon home that boasts 10,000 square feet of living space. As they drive by the property at the beginning of the action, Roloff and Murick discuss its pros and cons. Roloff worries that the house is a bit too expensive, even though it is beautiful to look at. In response, Murick says, "I think the first step is to see if we like it, and if we do, figure out how we pay for it," while also bringing up the fact that he has met Amy's ex-partner, Matt Roloff. Hello, Roloff. The fact that he has progressed so far on his ideal home serves as a reminder that ours is still a ways off. It would be wonderful to find that house before we retire. So, we're keeping a close eye on the situation. Though the 6-car garage of the house they are going to see is excessive, Amy does admit that it suits their taste better. The extra space is something we are accustomed to, she says, and gotten her feet a little filthy. Following a stroll with her husband Chris Murick, she shared a charming selfie on social media. According to the reality TV star, this is the result whenever she wants to take a brief hike in the opposite way. The slope of mud was too steep and I tumbled down it. Despite her injury, she seems to be keeping a cheerful attitude, as she also included a laughing emoji. Then she continued, "What is a little mud when I have my favorite fantastic boyfriend beside me and a lovely mountain backdrop?" Find below a photo of Amy Roloff's jeans that have mud splashed all over them. Thankfully, Amy seems to have been unharmed in her fall, according to her post. Probably would have told them if it had been very bad. While trekking with her partner, the LPB Dobby star also sent a picture of the breathtaking surroundings, the weather and scenery that Chris Murick and Amy Roloff experienced on their short journey were just stunning. Many fans are gushing